Hey, it's the Over Under podcast. We're back for our week 7 of the NFL season. I think we're almost halfway.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
That's
Just
crazy,
real quick,
man.
last week, we mentioned this on our college podcast, but the NFL books cleaned up last week.
Yeah, sure did.
But I do think that there were some upsets. I wanted that Cleveland last week at 7. It went to 10. I didn't grab it. I knew it. I circled that one for 3 weeks, and I was kicking myself after that win.
You did. You did. We did well in our PPs last week. I had Ravens -4, which won. You had Panthers Dolphins over 48.5, which easily won. I had Colts +4, the super square dog, which lost. We each had the Commanders +2.5, double PP, that one. You had the Jets +7, which won outright. And I had the Commanders, Chargers in a teaser, which also won. So we did very well in our NFL podcast last week, even though our college football was just average last week. NFL, pretty good.
And it's been wishy-washy with that as well. So
and again, just to comment, because people have been asking the questions, we're only going over the plays that we give out on the podcast. We're just recapping the podcast plays. All the plays on Twitter still going towards our record. We're just recapping purely the podcast plays on the podcast. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone.
All righty. Well, let's get right into it. I'm trying to use our the DraftKings game lines. We can use whatever we want, really, but let's just go with this one. Okay. Jags and Saints. Right now, Saints are -1, and I think it's because of the question marks surrounding Trevor Lawrence. CJ Beathard will get the start if it's not Lawrence. The Saints lost last week after an emotional win. The last time they played at home, Dan, they did not score a touchdown, the Saints. So keep that in mind for tonight. I don't particularly like the Saints in general. But if the Jags don't have Lawrence, I wonder what Beathard would be. So I immediately look at primetime, the total. It was 41. It's now 40. The Saints have yet to score over 20, besides against the Patriots. They've yet to score over 20.
Yep.
I'm a little torn on this one. I kind of lean under off the bat, but your thoughts?
I like the Saints quite a bit in this one. I think that when the Jags, I think Lawrence is going to play. Someone told me early in the week that he was cleared and he was expected to play. I did hear that he was pushing back a little bit earlier in the week, but it sounds like he feels better. I think he's going to be a go. I like the Saints in this position, Joe. Not going to PP it, but I do like the Saints tonight. Simply put, this is a really bad spot for Jacksonville. So people talk about the spot after, or the week after London, which I think we talked about last week. But the spot for London has always been, we talked about this last year quite a bit too, is the 2 weeks after London is always the worst spot. So now your quarterback is banged up. It's the 2 weeks after London. You're on the road on a short week after beating the divisional opponent. I mean, it does feel like a horrendous spot. Now, the Saints are obviously not great. I don't want to, sit here and talk about how great they are, because they're not. And I think that, they just lost outright to the Texans in Houston, but they're back home. They've only played 2 games at home this year, Joe. They're 1-1. I think it's a good spot for the Saints. I think they find a way to get this W, and I like New Orleans tonight -1.
The only thing I'll say is, and granted, it might be more of the opening line, but in the 5 games that the Saints have been favored this year, they've lost all 5. And that's the opening line. Obviously, I think against the Patriots, they ended up as a favorite before kickoff.
No, the Patriots closed the favorite there.
Cool. All right, cool. There you go. So they won that game. Cleveland Colts. Weird one here, because you're probably going to see 2 backup quarterbacks. I think Watson's got a rotator cuff, and I don't know what's going to happen with him. So Cleveland's defense, we know, is pretty good through 5 weeks. The Colts struggled last week. I don't see value in this one, Dan, unless you want to fade. I don't know. I guess unless you want to fade PJ Walker after an emotional win, that could be an angle in this one. But yeah, Cleveland's defense versus a backup quarterback. Colts are at home, so maybe that quarterback plays better. It's almost a pass for me.
So I like the Colts here, but I do think that it's very possible to see Deshaun Watson play in this game for the Browns. He spoke to the media yesterday. Usually you're only speaking to the media before games you play. So I found that pretty interesting that Watson did speak to the media yesterday. Minshew had a terrible game against the Jags. So far, again, he hasn't taken a ton of snaps this year, but 7 of his 10 turnover-worthy plays were last week against Jacksonville. He played terribly. Now back at home, I expect him to be a little bit better here. But the defense for Cleveland has been fantastic. It is a tough spot coming off that San Francisco win. Very much a letdown. Again, I don't have a ton in the NFL this week, and I just think it's a really tough card. This is normally a spot I'd play This is normally a spot that I'd play Cleveland. I normally would just say, "Hey, I think this is a Cleveland spot." Or sorry, I'm sorry, normal spot I play Indianapolis. Excuse me, and say, "Hey, this is an Indianapolis spot." Whatever. I think a good approach to this one is to tease Indy up to 8.5, and I'll give out the other teaser side, and I'll give it out as a PP in a little bit. But yeah, I'll use Indy as a teaser side this week.
All right. One thing I think you're going to notice right off the bat is the totals are lower this week. And I believe the unders crushed, right? 12-2 or something last week.
Yeah, a lot of unders last week. Again, when that happens, usually the next week the totals are a little bit lower than they should be. Right now, total in that Cleveland game is 40. So feel even for that to me feels a little bit low.
Lions and Ravens. I mean, Lions are just rolling right now, rolling along. Are those Lions? And the Ravens did end up pulling out a nice little victory in London. Is this the best game of the day? I mean, if you look around, this might be the best game of the day. One thing I'll say about Baltimore is them and the Bills are tied for first in the league with sacks, 24. So can they get at? Can they stop the running game and get at Jared Goff? I guess that's one question. Detroit 3-0 on the road, 5-1 against the spread this year. At some point, I do think the Lions are going to get caught. But after a London game, is this the spot?
Yeah, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna PP this one. Give me 42.5. I just think that this is a good spot for some points for both these teams. Again, a lot of these totals very down. I kind of again this one did get down to 41, which is actually where I played the over, but I still like it at 42.5. I'll play it up to 43.5 would be my limit on this one. But I like the over here, Joe. Again, I think that Goff, and I know both these defenses have been playing very, very well. Not a lot of success, not very low success rate against against these defenses. Excuse me. But nonetheless, I think the Lions have been playing, or even without Montgomery, Gibbs will be back. I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit. And Goff to me has been incredibly impressive moving the ball downfield. He actually is a guy I would even look at for MVP at 20-25-1. Baltimore actually crossed that 3 threshold. This was open 2.5 or somewhere around there. Got up to 3.5, back down to 3 here. I do think Baltimore wins this game. It's kind of a big test for them, Joe. They haven't beaten really anyone super quality, so this would be a big win for them. But I think it's I think Baltimore is starting to get it together. They're a little bit healthier. They looked a little bit better offensively last week, and I think they'll probably continue that upward trend offensively. And I like the over for both teams here. And again, Detroit, not the worst teaser spot in the world if you caught it at 2.5. Obviously, 3 it loses value, but obviously +9 better than +8.5. So it's up to you.
Why are the Ravens favorite here?
I mean, look, they're home, against a team that's coming off a grind of a divisional game, and basically what you're saying, they're 3-point favorites at home. They're basically a neutral, a pick 'em on neutral. I think that's a pretty reasonable take. These two teams are, I guess, probably similar levels of talent.
All right. I figured just in general with the success of the Lions, maybe they'd just be favorites. Oh,
Probably not on the
uh,
road. I know they're 3-0 away, but I just think that would be a little bit much.
means Vegas is fading them too. Falcons and Bucks. So off the bat, Dan, it's the Bucks for me. Um, I, I'm out on the Falcons. No, I do think that they tried to come back last week. They couldn't, and it's a Ritter problem. It definitely is. And slowly, Dan, there's too much talent in that team to kind of let Ritter have his growing pains. So I heard a rumor about Kyler Murray potentially being traded in the next 2 weeks, and Atlanta could be one of the teams. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. But the Bucks aren't bad. Like I thought it was going to be way worse. So overall, like I kind of want to lean. I kind of like them at home this week. I'm not betting it. I'm not going to the window with it. But the Falcons' pass rush has been has been pretty poor, to be honest with you. So I don't know if they can get at Baker Mayfield here. But Atlanta generally plays better at home than on the road. I got nothing. It's a pass for me.
Also, I'm gonna ring the bell here. This is gonna be my other side of my teaser here. So give me Atlanta 8.5, and give me Indianapolis 8.5 in a teaser. I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with you, but I also think that this Atlanta team, again, they still have the type of talent that that Tampa Bay just doesn't have. I think again, Tampa Bay has good players. Look, they have Mike Evans, they have Chris Godwin, but those guys just aren't the same. And I think right now Drake London probably not getting a lot of talk, but he's been fantastic the past few weeks. Bijan Robinson, when he actually gets the ball, has been, in my opinion, very high level. Look, I like Tampa. I do. They've been kind of surprising the start of the year for a lot of people. I like them, I think, a little bit more than most at the beginning of the year, and I'm very down on Atlanta. So I am kind of hoping the Bucks win here, but I kind of lean Atlanta in the spot, man. I just do. The Bucks to me are starting a downward trend, and I don't know if they're going to pull out of it. This is kind of feels like Baker Mayfield's on a little bit of a sinking ship. Let's see what happens there. But early on, I lean I lean Atlanta in this game. I think they this is the type of game that Ritter wins a tough fought divisional battle.
Okay. So the next game is Washington and the Giants, divisional matchup here. I and let me just pull up my notes because I know I had something on this one. So the last time they played, it was a 2020 tie. And the Giants right now are averaging 10 points per game, although Tyrod Taylor was better. Sam Howell threw for 3 touchdowns. Also has taken 34 sacks this year. A little weird to me, Dan, but I think the Giants kind of bounce back this week. I don't know why. Right now the line is Washington -2.5. I don't like the Giants. I think they play terribly at home. 2.5 points. I can't do it. I can't do it. But I like the Giants. I can't do it.
No, I did too. It's going to depend on who starts for quarterback for me. If it's Daniel Jones, I want nothing to do with the Giants. And I know that people are going to say, "What, really?" Yeah, I mean, Tyrod Taylor clearly is a better fit for
Solid backup.
this offense. He is.
Solid backup.
He is. He's a better fit for this team than Danny Dimes is. If you think Mac Jones is bad, Danny Dimes has been the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. I think he makes Zach Wilson look good, which is, I mean, really, really tough to do. So, yeah, look, I like the Giants here, but I'm really hoping we see Tyrod Taylor. If it's not Tyrod Taylor, I got nothing on this game. But again, another spot where I think it's probably a good teaser spot for the Giants. Tease them up to 8.5 at home against a divisional opponent coming off a victory. I think, again, once again, you're just talking about spot betting here. Probably a good spot to look at the Giants, who, again, I thought played pretty good football on Sunday night. So, excuse me. So, I think a good spot for the Giants here.
All right. Raiders off their win over the Patriots will play the Bears. Both backup quarterbacks are playing. How ugly is that? So
Are we sure Garoppolo's not playing?
I don't know actually. I read both unlikely to play. And I don't even know if Hoyer started. He won last week, so why would they go against that?
Yeah.
Either way, if the Raiders win, they win 3 in a row, Dan. I can't bet on that. I can't do that. And I know the Bears suck. Like, Fields not play. I can't bet on this game. I want to. I want to take the Giants. I want to take the Bears. I can't do it this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, so everyone's saying that Brian Hoyer beat the Patriots. Well, he didn't. I mean, the Patriots won the half where Brian Hoyer played. The half that Jimmy Garoppolo played, the Raiders won. The half that Brian Hoyer played, the Patriots won, and they won distinctly in that half. So I don't really get the whole notion that Brian Hoyer beat the Patriots. No, he didn't. The Patriots beat Brian Hoyer in the Raiders in that second half, and honestly had a really good chance to win the game if Devontae Parker learns how to catch a fucking football. So I'm not quite sure I understand that narrative, to be frank with a lot of people, but whatever. Uh, Look, I got nothing in this game. I think this is Garoppolo didn't practice yesterday. Devontae Adams, the report comes out this morning that he's frustrated with his role, which I think we talked about on this podcast show. I think I put that name out there a few weeks ago. I think we talked about that. Is that Devontae Adams might be a guy who ends up being available because he's not getting along with either Jimmy or Brian Hoyer. Aiden O'Connell could potentially be the starter this week too because they'll be able to prep him. I don't really know what's going on here. It's the type of game you look at this and say, Jesus Christ. I mean, Chicago probably is the side without Justin Fields. They get to prep their backup quarterback for a whole week without him. I actually I wonder if they'll be better without Fields. I am rooting for the Bears to win this week. For obviously, want the Patriots to lose. I want the Bears to win, get that higher draft pick. But we'll see. I don't know what to tell you. I got nothing in this game, Joe. I really don't know.
Okay, Patriots, Bills. I mean, we know the numbers. We know the dominance that Buffalo has over New England. The Pats can't score. The Bills are 6-1 since Brady's been gone. Since that win game, Dan, they have been outstanding. And Josh Allen has 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. I think the Bills win. This is their get right game after last week. I'm no longer betting on the Patriots. The line, though, I think is right around where it will be, where it will end. But I mean, is an over going to hit at all for the Patriots this year? And will they score over 20 points? I don't love the Bills defense despite their sack numbers. And Dan, I don't think they've been great, but I do think the Bills get right this week. I'm going to wait on it a little bit, but I like the Bills after what happened on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Saints record there with they've got 15 of the last 16 under or whatever it is. Patriots continue to go there. Again, if I'm approaching this game, it's a teaser spot. Buffalo isn't playing well. I mean, they're just not. Ever since that Miami game, they're not playing well. They struggled badly in London, which I thought was a good spot to fade them. They struggled Sunday Night Football. Now they're on the road, a divisional opponent. I just think they're struggling. I think they're in a little bit of a slump, and I don't think they'll pull themselves out of it until they face that game at Cincy. Sometimes it takes a motivational spot to kind of do that. And I just think that spot really isn't until Cincy. So look, I think they win. I think they're going to win this game. I think the Patriots are the Patriots. They find ways to lose games right now, which is impressive, and find ways not to cover games. Miami's on deck. I mean, look, they find ways. They find ways to lose games right now. So that's very possible. But I look at this team, Joe, and I think, again, people are still overreacting to the Patriots a little bit. Again, it doesn't start with Mac Jones. It starts up front with the weapons. It starts with the O-line. They probably win that game last week if Devontae Parker catches the ball. So they're not playing as bad as some people think either. Buffalo to 2.5 on a tease, probably the way I would approach this one. I have teased a little bit of Buffalo, so that's the way I would approach it. It's up to you.
I'm going to give this out, Dan, and I'm sorry I didn't do it last week. I did it somewhere else, so it doesn't count. But I'm going to ring it here. Give me the Buffalo Bills first quarter -1.5.
Okay.
Patriots struggle, dude. They're the worst first quarter team in the history of the game. But I'm going to ride it. I got to win by more than a point. I'm going Buffalo Bills first quarter. The Patriots have gone down double digits in almost every game, going back to last season. So I'm going to take Buffalo first quarter, and it's -115 right now if you want it.
Okay.
All right, we're on to the 4 o'clock games. We are on to the 4
We
o'clock
are.
games.
We are. Sir.
Arizona, Seattle. Arizona hung around early and then got blown out by the Rams. Seattle was in it until the end. 7.5 though, and this is a divisional game. Normally, I like the divisional dog here, but I don't know. I feel like Seattle bounces back this week. Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? This is what I had. I have the over 44.5, so we'll ring the bell on that one, Dan. Over 44.5.
There you go. Well, I mean, if you like the over, then you like the dog. I mean, that's at least I think they're somewhat correlated this week, Joe. So yeah, I think if you like the over, you like the dog. I'll ring the bell too. Give me the Cardinals +8. I don't really. Again, I'm going to keep telling you guys. I think the Seattle team is about to fold. Like I don't think this team is very good. They're starting to struggle. You're starting to see the issues come alive. They last week in the red zone couldn't do a goddamn thing. Bengals held them to 13 points on the road. They lost that game. Now they're home against a divisional opponent who just came off getting blown out. And I told you, it felt like a Rams line last week. It really did. They have struggled, in the second half the last 3 weeks. I think this is a good spot for them. I think they get right here. I think there's a chance they win this game outright. I would sprinkle some Arizona money line here. Seattle is about, in my personal opinion, it feels like this team's about to explode, and not in a good way. The offensive line is a absolute fucking mess right now. DK Metcalf didn't practice yesterday. Tyler Lockett didn't practice yesterday. Team just feels like a complete and utter mess. I like Arizona, and again, they're not winning games, but they're staying competitive. So.
Let's talk Rams Steelers. I like the way the Rams are playing right now. They have 2 of their best players are healthy, and Kyron Williams ran the ball pretty well last week.
He's out.
Pickett and George Pickett. What's up? He's out, right?
Yep.
Yep, he's out. So, but George Pickens, Kenny Pickett is starting to get going a little bit. It's weird. It's weird. I like the way the Rams are playing, Dan. Is this a Steelers spot? I can't figure this one out.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one. After your divisional game, kind of a blow to get right spot against after losing the Philly. It's Philly. I mean, it's Pittsburgh off the bye. Coming off their win against Baltimore a couple weeks ago. Really, really tough game. I mean, I think the market to me definitely likes Pittsburgh here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This one opened 3.5 circa, down to 3. The market here likes Pittsburgh. I I think it's really tough for me in this one. I don't think I'll end up betting this game. Deontay Johnson may be back for Pittsburgh. We'll see. I'm not positive about that. The Rams without their 2 top running backs, Ronnie Rivers placed on the IR, Kyrie Williams out with a sprained ankle, so they're turning to basically an undrafted free agent. I believe is the guy who's going to be running things, and Zach Evans, Royce Freeman's behind him. They signed Myles Gaskin. Like they're really going off the scrap heap. They're going to run. They're going to throw the ball a shitload this game. So let's see what happens. I think I would lean Pittsburgh in this spot, Joe. The good defenses are giving the Rams trouble, but no play for me in this one.
Chargers, Chiefs. So this is at least my perception of it. These two teams, whenever they play, the Chargers have had the lead late in the game and have lost. They've beat them once. But let's not forget, the number is 5.5 right now. And how many teams this year, Dan, have been favored by 5.5 and lost? Eagles last week, Bills, right? Cowboys did it, and then the 49ers, of late. Not last week. I know it was 10 points, but still, the Chiefs beat inferior opponents. That's generally what they do. They don't always cover. After a loss on a short week, I kind of lean the Chargers here, but it's very, very ugly, and I'm not ringing the bell.
Yeah, I lean the other side. I'm also not ringing the bell, though. I like Kansas City. I wonder if they're going to get Mecole Hardman into the game plan immediately. I got an argument with yesterday. I mean, Hardman is going to be a huge addition to this team. If you guys don't think so, I really don't know what to tell you. He was a huge piece to what they did before he got hurt, and then obviously left got paid, and now he gets to come back. He's a gadget guy, but he also is a downfield threat and someone that Mahomes has, a relationship with, has been reliable in the past. And right now, that wide receiver core, outside of really Rashee Rice, has been garbage. People argue with me that Kadarius Toney's been good. Kadarius Toney's played in like 26% of his available snaps. I mean, he doesn't look like he's going to be, and I really thought that, I love that addition originally, but Tony doesn't look like he's going to be anything. Valdez-Scantling looks like trash. I mean, this whole offense outside of Kelsey and Rice right now and Pacheco really have done nothing. So I think it's a big addition to the Kansas City offense, very under the radar addition. Meanwhile, I mean, the LA just finds ways to lose every week, right? I mean, they're again, it's coaching. Their coach is a fucking idiot. They have to get rid of him. They absolutely have to get rid of Brandon Staley. He just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and it honestly affects others around him at this point. I just believe that. I like Kansas City this week. I think they win by 7+. I'm not PPing it, but that's the way I lean in this game, and I also like the over.
Packers Broncos, I'm staying far away. But if I had to give you an analysis on it, the Broncos are really bad against the run, Dan. They're really bad against the run, and I just feel like the Packers may lean on that. And I think there's problems in Denver, bro, so I'm going to fade them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's problems there, but I think we knew there were going to be problems. I didn't think they were going to be this bad, but, whatever. Aaron Jones still limited. I'd be surprised if he played this week. I mean, if they do play him, he certainly won't be near healthy. I like Denver, at home, coming off what I think is, the loss on, was it last Thursday? They have a long week. They get to face a Packers team who I think is still, for whatever reason, overvalued in the market. I still don't quite understand this one, but this is just not a good team. They have a divisional game next week against Minnesota. I think this is a weird spot for Green Bay. I like Denver, gun to the head. If I'm doing it, I like Denver here. I also like the over in this one. So,
Dolphins Eagles. All right, so this is the game of the week, Sunday Night Football. Hey, Tua versus Jalen Hurts. Remember those guys?
I don't.
They played together, and then one got benched, and then the other guy made his career. So Tua got sacked a ton. He took 4 sacks in their only loss this year. The Eagles, Dan, as you know, can definitely get after the quarterback. Of late, though, Jalen Hurts' interceptions have been a problem, and they've had 3 turnovers in I don't know how many games. Overall here, though, I feel like Eagles off a loss. Eagles off a loss. I can't get it out of my head. Eagles off a loss. But the Dolphins have upset in this spot already. I do feel like I feel like this game's going to be like in the 30s, Dan. I think Eagles win, though. Off a loss. I don't know what you got.
Here are Miami's 3 games on the road this year. They beat the Chargers by 2. They beat the Patriots by 7. They lost to the Bills by 28. They haven't been good on the road. They have not been good on the road. Philly has been fantastic at home. Jalen Carter practiced this week. Darius Slay practiced this week. Now I am concerned about Devonta Smith. He didn't practice Wednesday. That's concerning. Dallas Goedert was limited. Lane Johnson has that lateral ankle sprain. I don't think he's going to play. So a lot of injury concerns. That being said, I just think Miami on the road has been really a no-show. Xavier Howard didn't practice this week. Jalen Ramsey obviously not playing this week. I think they're going to be a lot less explosive without HN. So to me, this is Philly. Give me the Eagles -2.5 PP.
All right, we're on the same side. 52, Dan. I think it gets over. I think it goes over. Like I think it's weird, but I like the Eagles 34-30. But you mentioned the struggles of the Dolphins here. Maybe it doesn't get that high, considering that. So although I do lean over, it's a good point. Dolphins now got to go to Eagle. Who knows what the weather is going to be on Sunday night in Philly?
Yep.
So and then Monday night, 49ers Vikings. Interesting game, right? The Shanahan. What should we call this? The Shanahan game? Is that what Obviously with his ties to a couple of these teams. So McCaffrey, Samuel, do we know if they're playing? And we know Jefferson's out. So is this the 49ers bounce back game? And the Vikings have not lost at home by more than a touchdown since Kevin O'Connell's taken over, and the line is 7.
Yeah, a lot of key injuries for the Niners here. Deebo Samuel questionable, he's day to day. Trent Williams avoided a high ankle sprain, he's day to day. Dre Greenlaw questionable, that's a big one for them. And a McCaffrey questionable, not a long-term injury, so he could potentially play. If I'm San Francisco, I'm just resting them all this week. I'm just taking that, and I think you can probably still beat Minnesota. Even in Minnesota, I think you can probably still do it. Brock Purdy needs to be better. He was terrible in that game. It purely was, and we talked about it. It was a horrible spot for San Francisco and Cleveland. They're back on the road this week. I don't like anything in this game, to be honest with you, Joe. It's a complete pass for me in this one. I think this is the worst football card of the year in terms of the NFL. And I think right now this is a tough week to do it because the NFL really has an image problem, at least in my opinion. The ratings are down. Everything is down across the board right now for the NFL. So I think not a great week, but not a great game there either. Couple good games. I mean, Philly, Miami is a good game. Kansas City, LA is a good game. Detroit, Baltimore is a good game. But really, the disparity around the league right now is pretty big, and a lot of these games fucking blow. So let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm kind of down on this card. We gave out how many plays? We gave a few plays. I think we have 6 plays this week.
Okay. I've been staring at this total again for the Dolphins Eagles, and I kind of want to go under. So you know what? Bring it. I'm on the Eagles too, but I'm not going to double PP it. I'll go under.
Well, why don't you wait on that one and just post it on Twitter? I think that one's going to go up, Joe.
All right.
I would, because I think if Philly gets some of these guys rolled in, like if Devonta Smith plays, et cetera, that total is going to go up. I would wait on that one. No need to ring it. There's always good old Twitter if you decide to play it.
All right. I just wanted to contribute a little bit more. I've been riding these against the Patriots first quarters, and they've been going pretty well here. So all right. Well, that's it, Dan. We're down another week. And
got plenty of time here, Joe. No reason to give out points. No rush.
By the way, I know this is you mentioned the NFL. I actually got some. I'm doing this tonight on the show, but have you seen you mentioned everything's down, dude? Like, people think this is an offensive league right now. It's not.
It's not.
Like what? No. Like the touchdowns they were scoring when there was fullbacks and tight ends and all that are like in the hundreds worse now than they were a year ago.
Yep.
Overall.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. The league sucks right now.
Pigs get fat, right? And then what happens? They get slaughtered.
Hogs get slaughtered.
There you go. All right, we'll leave on that note. That was a good quote. We'll leave on that note. It's week 7 of the NFL. He's Dan Lifshatz. I'm Joe Murray. Be sure to check out our Twitter. Check out their Saturday show as well. This has been another edition of the Over Under Podcast.
Who you got? Good luck, guys.